Today I'm going to show you how to put together this little school bus box from Simply Crafty SVGs. There are a lot of pieces to this bus, so this is a representative of what the bus will look like if you put solid panels on it. So I made the bus with and without windows. So I was envisioning to be open, so the inside cuts is open all the way through. So that's what I'm going to show you. But I put these alternate panels that you could use. I mean, we can use acetate, and I'll show you that. I'll demonstrate that. Or you don't have to do anything at all. But it is a box, so it opens like that. It's a little bit tight right there. I had some issues with my cutting machine cutting my scores a little bit too much. But there you go. And then right there, makes it easy to pull right there. So that's what we're going to make today. It was a bus that's been asked about for quite a while, and I've had it actually designed for about a year, just not the final touches. Took me another probably about a week and a half to finish it. So here are the pieces. Let me put that aside. There are a lot of little details to this, so you have to pay attention to this video. I'll have shortcuts below, or you'll see shortcuts below to go to different sections. But here's a lot of little pieces. So some of the lights, I separate them into little embellishment bowls so it'd be easier for me to find. So these are all the light layers. So this is going to take some time to put together, and not like significantly. Mostly the piecing takes the most. Putting this together takes a little bit of time, but the actual bus. And then these are the wheels, the tires, and the mirrors, and the stop sign. So, and I'll explain it as I go detail, but there's different ways to do the school bus sign. Print and cut, if you're having issues or not familiar with really small vinyl, I'm going to show you how to do vinyl. But I would say the print and cut would probably be something people might want to use more so than the vinyl. So I have 4 of these, and I'll explain why when I get to that part. And there's vinyl in there if you want to do that, but you have to be pretty good at vinyl, doing small vinyl. So I gave options in the file. And then here we have some of the black pieces and the grill and bumpers, stuff like that. And then of course the cut file. So here we have, that'll be the roof. So you could refer to your PDF file, which will tell you what everything is. But here are the outside panels. So anything that doesn't have a tab is an outside panel. I'll just put that aside. And there's a lot of cut lines on here. Let me make sure I go slow. So there's a lot of cut lines, so it can help you guide to where you're going to place some things. Same thing here. And then here are the actual, that's the bottom part. So we'll go ahead and go step by step and show you what each piece is and explain further. So we're going to start with the tires, wheels, the grill, stop sign, and the mirrors, and then the headlights. And I'm going to explain the headlights because I'm going to do them a little bit different. So I did include anything for paper. So a lot of it where I put dimensional headlights, I included paper just in case you don't have any. So this is just intended to have a, a little bit of a metallic edge. So if you want to use these, you just center those. So I'm not going to use those. I'm going to give you some other options of what you can do. So you could use those and put something like stickles, or let me see if I can grab it here. Let's see. This is not stickles, but this is a white blizzard. So I used a white blizzard for this. So you can see little, hopefully you can't really see the shimmer as well as I was hoping with the lighting. But that's a way to put it, to use if you don't have a rhinestone, which I'm going to use. Or you could use something like, I have another one, I'm putting it aside. Uh, right here, this is like there's clear coating on here. Let's see if I can get it. You can see the shine, but I don't think you're going to be able to see it. In person, you can see it. It's just clear, and so it's just a clear coat. And this is Nouveau Crystal Drops. So I just like to give you options. But what I'm going to use, but like I said, if you have the white ones, you want to piece them together, are these. So just rhinestones. I like the look of them. I like this one too, because it's cut a little bit different, but the smaller ones I only had in that kind. But you could also replace an entire, not even use the metallic part, and place this there. And the reason why it has to be that same size or a little bit larger is because of the cutout marks on the front of the panel. And you could always remove the cutout marks, but anyways, that's another option. So just giving you options for headlights. But for us, we're not going to layer anything. So if you do use the paper, just go ahead and center it. If not, you can hold off, and we'll put on the rhinestones later because you don't want to put them on now. So that's that. And then with the stop sign, we're just going to go ahead and layer that. So we're using Barely Art glue to do that today, and mostly I'm using American Crafts cardstock, textured cardstock, and this is Recollections metallic, 65 pound. So it helps to have a fine tip applicator for these kind of things. So now about this, it's not unusual to see it, but the reason I'm using Barely Art is because it comes with one. I actually broke one today, so you make sure you wash them, because if something got stuck and it broke. Fortunately, I had another one. So when you're doing this, just line up one side first. So you want to be careful that the glue doesn't show in those little openings like that. Fortunately, I didn't move it enough. And if you need to, you could always use like a little damp, really damp paper to get the glue off if you got any glue on the metallic. The metallic shows a lot of glue. So I really do like this paper though, because it's easy to glue on the back because of the craft backing. So I did 3 of the tires already because there's no point in showing you just one. Then we're going to put those aside. So these are all the things I've done. So for this one, just be careful around the edges again. We just don't want the glue to get through those openings. And if you do too much glue, you could always kind of flatten it down with your finger and then just wipe your finger off. Make sure you don't get any glue on the metallic part. You just want to center that. So all these pieces will be ready to go once we get the actual bust together. And I'm going to use this for the middle. So this is an eye outlet, a little sticky back that I had for a while. I just think it'll be super cute for the middle. So we'll use that later. Let's go ahead and put this aside. Let's do the stop sign. So the stop sign, we want to go ahead and let's do the red part with stop first. We're just going to attach that to the white. You'll see the cutout marks for the P and the O in the white. So then we'll have that red backing. So do like little drops in between to make sure that it adheres. So make sure you have it the correct way. You want to center it. So the white, there's a little white around it. So just be real careful. Just kind of jiggle it around until it looks like you have a little white around it there. Then we'll go ahead and add that back part. So you want to add glue to the actual pieces with the hole in it first, because otherwise if you do it on the red, then you won't know where to place the glue. Seems obvious, but I've done it before, not thinking. And that just lines up to the edge of that white piece. Easy peasy. And for some reason, if you don't want to cut this out with cardstock, I gave you a different option. You can also look in the extra stuff folder and you'll see a vinyl or one that you could print and cut if you really wanted to. So the stop, it's just the stop with the red, with the backdrops and everything. So the white and the red piece. And then this, so even though this has craft on the back, if for some reason you have this kind of paper and you don't want the metallic, so I'm going to show you on this other one. You do see it. If you look there, you can see the craft paper. If that bothers you, all you've got to do is cut another copy of this, and then they'll go back to back. So if you did 2 more of these, it'd go back to back, so you wouldn't be able to see it. I just think it's easier to glue with this, so it doesn't bother me. You can barely even see it. So we're going to go ahead and glue this other metallic piece on the other side to represent the mirror. I'm going to use these. I haven't used these a lot, but I'm finding they're easier sometimes for me to do smaller items. These tweezers. So I want to get it in place, line it up, and the second one. So we'll put these aside, and then we'll put together the lights, which have a lot of pieces, but I'll get them arranged first before we do that. I'm not going to show you every single one. I'm just going to show you the 2 different ways to do it with the 2 different lights. Okay, so these are all the little lights that we need to put together. So let me show you on the actual bus. So these are the ones with the curves right here. There's on the front and back. And then the straight ones, just flip it around, are right here. The ones that have just no curve in it right here. And then there's these. So I did include the little pieces for lights, but honestly, that's up to you whether you want to use those or not. So you could discard those. What I'm going to use, and I suggest, is our little rhinestones. So I have this, let me put this away. So I have this kind of inexpensive rhinestones that I got at like the dollar store here. And I'm going to use these. So I'll give you kind of the estimate size in the, if you look at the product description, you'll see the estimate size of the rhinestones I'm using for this. Just as long as they're a little bit larger than, there's a little cheater lines right here, right there to put it. So if you place it over it, it's going to cover it like that. So that's that orange one. So I'm going to use those. But I do include these. You could also make them a little bit bigger. They're just circles. So it's up to you what you want to do there. And even if you wanted to, you could do like a little dot of stickles or stuff like that. So whatever you have on hand. But I want to show you that because I'm not going to use these. So I'm just going to put those aside. But they're so small to cut, you might as well just cut them out. So now I'm just going to put together, you want to lay them out so they're the same. So if you're using especially textured paper, that the same ones together, so when you layer them, you can just do it quickly. So I'm going to do one of each of these, and then like that. I'll put these together off camera, and then the same thing, I'll just do one of these because basically it's the same. It's just repetitive. So this one I would, you can start with the black piece if you wanted, or the red piece, but I'm just going to go red on orange, or orangish. This yellow is a little bit deeper than the school bus yellow. So I'm just going to line that up. So it's the solid, and then the 1 hole, and then the 2 hole. And if you wanted to, you could use vinyl for this too. That's up to you. There's always different ways of doing things. The other thing I thought would be fun is to use little rhinestones if you had that size rhinestone. And if you don't have a color rhinestone that you want, you can get the clear ones and paint them with ink or a pen, or you just have to play around with it. I've done it a couple times. I chose not to do it for this particular video because I have so many pre-made ones because they're super cheap. You can get them on it. Well, if you're in the US, I don't know about any other country, but speaking from my US background, you can get a ton of different colors for not a whole lot on Amazon. So you can see that's just when I continue to put those together. And the last one's exactly the same. The difference is it has white in it too, because I did a little research on what's on the back of some buses and kind of created my little hybrid bus. So we're going to do all the rest of those, and then this one, similar, just go from solid to 1 to 2 to 3 holes, or you can go the opposite that way. Just be careful of getting glue in the near the openings. So somebody the reason I did a bus, this is July, and the reason I did a bus is that I actually designed this bus over a year ago, or the beginnings of the bus. I get too detailed sometimes, so this is one of my first designs. I had if you're new to me, I've been not designing for probably over 6 months because of a move across the United States, and it was significant. So I had to stop for a while because I just couldn't do both things at once. And we still have a lot of things to do around the house, but I'm just trying to start slowly. So for this one, it doesn't matter either way. It's symmetrical on both sides. This one has a little curve, so you have to pay attention to the curve. So let me finish the rest of them off camera, and then we'll go on to the next step, which is we're going to go over how to do the school bus sign. Okay, so the next thing took me probably the longest in the file is trying to determine how I was going to get the school bus on. So I determined that the easiest way is to do a print and cut. And you see I have 2 of them in the file, but I changed the file just slightly so I could find a color that matched the bus the way I liked. So you can go ahead, if you're going to print and cut, it just takes, just duplicate them and figure out which one you want to use. So I'll probably use the darker one. So there's only 2, but these were 2 different color depths of color I did, trying to see if I could match it somewhat to the actual color of the cardstock. So because I chose cardstock first, and then I ended up printing and cutting this. So that's my recommended. So in the extra stuff folder, I just have to mention there is a vinyl version of it, but I'm going to tell you that it's super difficult, but I'm giving people the option. So if you're not really good at vinyl, probably not the best thing to do. I'd probably recommend print and cut for anybody. But if somebody wants to try vinyl, here's one. It's just really hard to weed. But I put the option out there and you can see. So I'm just kind of showing you. I want to show you how to place it too. So you can use your little tools to hold it down so you can see how I'm pulling it apart. Then hold these down so it doesn't go away. The H part. So if you want to do it, here's the way to do it. So you can skip this if you're going to just print and cut. Just jump to the next section. Oh, I lost my tool here. Just gonna weed this out. I never have been a fan of really fine vinyl designs. If this is your forte, then I commend you. Use the sticky part to pick that up. We just have the middle of the bee. Okay, so two pieces that you, just for this part, there's little cut files, right? There's cut lines right there. Oops. So there's cut lines right there. So what you need to do if you're going to use the vinyl is to, I'm going to get my handy dandy. Okay, that's a little bit off. I need to fix that L. So that's the problem with vinyl, is what we just saw. So I'm going to scooch those around so you don't want them any wider. So you can see this is more of a challenge than print and cut. There might be somebody out there they have. So I'm going to look at it one more time, make sure S is straight. Get that little piece off. I missed a piece of the B. So now we're going to do this is really old transfer tape, so I wouldn't particularly recommend it, but I have like a probably tons of, I mean, just a lot. I have a lot of it. Bought it years ago, and I don't do a lot of vinyl, so once you get it on, you want to line it up between these two cut marks. So of course, if you do the print and cut one, you don't need this. And it lines up like that. If it goes on well, all is good. And that's where these lights, the cut lines were because of these lights. So you'll see like that. So if that's something you want to do, just go into the extra stuff folder and get the vinyl version. Otherwise, I recommend print and cut for majority. So that's what these two pieces are, if you're wondering. Now we're going to put the roof on. We're going to start putting together the actual bus. So you want this piece and this piece. So that's the roof, and that's the two sides. So what we want to do first is to take this piece, and you'll see, I would prefer, I'm using the dashed cut line version just because it's easier to fold. So we want to fold that down, and we also, this needs to be, these tabs need to be folded up. So this is the front with the cutout, and this is the back without the cutout. But each one is going to, we kind of want to fold up. Well, this one not so much, but this one is going to open and close. That should just go like that. But this is going to be the back to open up. So this one, you don't really have to, you can just do the regular fold. And then you'll want to curl this a little bit. So in the back, it curls a lot more at the end. So I'm using the dowel. And then just doing a gentle, oops, let me just flip it across the way. So this is what it folds like. So you can see it's a little bit more right here and a little bit less up there. So we're just getting it trained so it'll be easier for us to place. And I did it the opposite way, so let's give it a try again. That's the front. You could do this part underneath. You could do the edge of your table. This one I'm just training around. So you see I have a little bit more of a curve. So just help us get it started. So we're going to gently fold these like this. And be careful, don't, you want to make sure that you'll see the tires come out like that. And like that. So now we'll go ahead and place this. So I want to start on this side. So these are the little tabs to fold in like that, but it's easier if they're out right now. So we're going to start on each side. So this is the back. So that should be there. So this is going to attach on this side. So what we want to do is start attaching this. So I'm going to fold this back. Fold all these tabs back. You can do that on this other side too, so it makes it ready to go when we do the other side. And that is just a defect of my machine not cutting right. Shouldn't happen on yours if everything's working fine with your machine. I've been having some machine issues since I moved. So we'll go ahead and we're going to add glue to this first tab. Again, when you're gluing this on, the first tab is going to be the larger tabs are from the back, the skinniest tabs in the front, and then that's the front as well, just one more time. So we're just going to get this butt up to right there. So let me show you. I'm going to line that edge up in there. You don't want to overlap it, so get that right in the corner because this needs to flip in. So this is what it looks like inside. So you want to anchor that first tab, which will allow us to glue the rest of the tabs. So you don't want to move it around a whole lot until you think it's glued down. So now I'm going to add glue. I'm kind of holding it at the same time to at least about half the tabs, so I can slide it under. So you can see right there. I'm going to slide those tabs under one at a time, starting where I anchored it to get it around. So there's one. Should move it here so the camera continues to see it. You can see it sliding under, and the reason this is so important that when I do the other side, you're not going to see it as well. And then, so make sure you go from here to there. And then we can, once that's adhered, and you have to kind of know your glue, how long it takes. Because the biggest thing is trying to get that edge into that tab fold. You can flip it over carefully and add glue to the remainder. So we're going to do this on the other side as well. That's why we pre-curled it. So we're going to flip it on the side again and then continue for where we started. Where we ended, I'm sorry. Where we started. Come back down, pushing in, making sure that it's pushed in so this little edge gets into the tab fold. And then this very last one right here, right there, it's getting excess glue. You need to kind of curl it around. You want to get it curled around. So make sure when you get to that last one, you curl it around. I wanted a little curve for my little school bus, so that's what I did. So that's what it looks on the other side. You can see I didn't get one part to glue down right, so you can always add more glue in. So one of the reasons I did it on the outside is just easier than to kind of line up the edges. Some designers might go the opposite, but I like to do that and just add an extra panel. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. pull that up. I'm going to flip that inside right now. So when this is flipped inside, it's a little harder to get that first tab on. I'm going to give it a try. I think I'm going to put glue on 2, but you could start with 1 if you wanted to. So the nice thing is we have holes right now to flip our fingers into, and you can see why it's. So I'm going to flip that out. Then we can hold that in place, or you could flip it on its side and reach in. And I'm pushing this kind of against it to make sure that that second one, the edge is in that tab fold. So I can't see it, but so that's why it's easier to do it on the side. You can see inside right there. So the same thing right there. So let's go ahead and add glue. At least we can go through the, you might not be able to see much, but you're going to see the general process here. Go up to that one. So I'm going to go inside. What I'm doing is doing the same thing, starting where I ended, and then lining up the edges, the edge of that panel, top edge, to the where the tab fold is for all those little tabs, up to the one that I ended up with. So you can kind of see right there. So right, you can see right there. Right there. And then we'll finish it off. If you're just slow and deliberate, if you're really good at this, I mean, people have done a lot of this. They don't need instruction. If you've done a lot of 3D, this is a common, for rounded, this is a common method that I utilize. Because I've tried others, I didn't like it, so. So I'm just going around that last part where I said in the front you want to kind of curve it. Right here where my hands is, right there. So we get that last tab in place up here. So there's no like real gap. So there was a teeny gap over here, but not much. So it helps, so it fits right. Everything fits okay. So now we want to add we could add the bus banner. Let me go ahead and pull this out. We're going to put it together first. So let's put the bus banners together, and then we'll add them to the back right here, and then on the front panel. So for those that skip the vinyl part, we have to, you can use the vinyl one. If you have the vinyl one, you'll have these 2 pieces with vinyl on them with school bus, and then we're going to put the lights. If not, you can just utilize the print and cut, which that's what I recommend. It's the easiest, less time consuming if you have the ability to print and cut. So that's what these are. For some reason you have these in your file, because I did them as a default cut. You can just discard them if you did print and cut. So let's go ahead and get these lights out. So just with each one, we'll add the lights on each side around that curved area. So you want to line it up on the right, like that. And if you're covering the words at all, then you're going too far. It goes right up to the S on each side. So now that we've had these two done, we're going to also add the little edges around the windows since we're putting this on. So this is for the front. So you want this little panel, and the top part is the thicker part. This is for the front. You want to go up and line it up on the sides and up towards the top. So you don't want to go over the edge because we have to be able to glue this on. And we need enough room for this edging, this little frame. So we're going to go ahead and add this frame. So this inside part will line up with the hole, the opening. Go ahead and line it up. Getting sticky there. And the same here with the back one. So as far as the actual school bus sign on the back, that's going to go on the back of the roof that we just attached. It's not going to go on this piece, but we're just going to line this up to get started. But you'll see all the little cut files, and this is where we're going to add little cut pieces, guidelines. We'll add, it's going to show us where to put the bumper, that kind of thing. So we'll put those aside. And the reason I'm doing it now because if we do it later, it's going to be harder for us to put on. So we're going to put that in like that. It should go, just try to go a little bit above this fold, tab fold. Get some glue on this. And just lightly get it in place. Gonna wiggle it down like that. So that's clear of that. You want to make sure you get that on well. And then we'll work on the front of the bus. Now we're going to go ahead and add, if for some reason you put a flat, as long as you're not using rhinestone any dimensional, you can go ahead and glue on the full headlights. If you're using rhinestones for the little lights here, and you can see there's little cheetah marks, I put a little pencil to darken them. These lines are for the grill, and these are for the lights. There's one for the big lights and one for the little lights, and then this little light down here, this little line down here is for where the top of the bumper will go later on. So I would, if you're using rhinestones, don't glue on the rhinestones, just do the flat pieces. If you're just using the white piece for the headlight, then you can go ahead and glue that on. So we're going to glue those on. So you just want to line them up to the little cut line areas. And normally I don't do these many, what I call them like cheater lines to help you line up things. You can hide them in your software. With Cricut, you can use contour, or there's also some methods, and it sure cuts a lot. And for some reason you need to hide it. I just say I recommend just getting a bigger circle if you don't like them, or something like that. But if you need help, you can always contact me via contact form. Contact form is the best way to get me for help, because I get them right away. For some reason, Facebook doesn't always give me my messages. So this is where the tab folds. The reason I'm doing that is that there's 4 cheater lines for me to place this so it'll center. So we want to make sure the bottom part doesn't go over the tab fold. So just line it right up to that, or just right above it, just barely right above it. I'm going left and right to get them in between the lines. So now just be careful there's no glue on your fingertips or anything when you use metallic paper, because it'll come off. So we're going to go ahead and fold this. So first I'm just going to fold this, and this is a mountain fold. This is our standard fold. Same here. And then we're going to flip this back. We want a valley fold here. So if you need to, depending on, if you're using the dashed cut lines, which is better for 3D, then you don't have to use the bone folder as much. But if you're using solid lines, that comes in handy. And that's my little mini bone folder. So these tabs are kind of wonky, but it's just because of the opening, so you can't see the tab through the windows on the side. So we're going to go ahead now, starting at the top, we're going to glue these on to the actual bus. But we're actually going to start up here. Oops. Let's go ahead and add glue to this. And this is why it helps to fold it up. Carefully line that up. I usually get closer to it. I'm going to try to get closer to it without, it's hard to show on camera. It's easier to control when it's closer to your body. Get it centered. Get it attached. And now you see why this is curved like that. So it won't show through the window if you have just regular windows. You don't want to see that. So we can go ahead and add glue. I'm going to just put it upside down for now. We'll start on this side. I'm going to do one tab at a time. I'm going to fold it over. We kind of want to fold it down like this. So this little corner goes into that corner there. So I'm going to just kind of push that, and I'm making sure that I'm pushing this so this edge down underneath gets lined up. I'm going to do the other side a little faster. I just want to do both sides of the same technique. So I glue to this tab right here. And then just pushing this in. So it attaches, and then I can reach in, which is nice. So this one's going to be harder to reach in than this last one, but you can reach in if you were to open these doors. We can reach in like this. Carefully, by the way. You don't want to pull those off. So that's how we're going to reach in. With either hand, obviously. So I'm going to push it just like I did the top ones, but I'm reaching in side to apply pressure. So the reason I chose on this size, actually, I wanted something a little smaller. I wanted it a little bus, but I wanted it easy enough to do the school bus part. At first, it took probably days for me to even figure out whether I was going to do vinyl or print and cut. Sometimes things like that are the things I get stuck on. So but print and cut way easier, so that's the way we're going. I don't know why I just think, oh, some people might not have printers, so I get hung up. But most people that do this kind of thing have all the fun tools. So we're doing the same on the other side. When it gets to this, it's just easier to reach in. Just make sure you're careful with your hands inside, because you could tear something. You could try to use a tool too to reach in, but the best tools are the fingertips, in my opinion. Make sure you're still pushing up against the edge to make sure that that edge lines up. If it's a little bit off, it's okay. It still look okay. Let's make sure it's all glued together okay before we do this last one. And we're almost done with reaching in for a little bit here. We'll have to reach in for the nice thing about it being open in the back is we can do this. That's why it has to be put together in a certain manner. So there's the front. So that's where this will go up here. So we'll go ahead and add this bottom piece. So I'm just going to attach it. I want to just cover those holes on the bottom. So I'm just lining it up. Once you get it lined up, you can kind of rub it in place. And if you want to get more pressure, you can place your hand in carefully to get it backing, to get it in place. So now we have these windows that are optional. So this is, I'm actually using transparency film, which is, this is like a form of acetate, but this is what I'm using because I had a whole box of it from years ago. So it's the same kind of thing. It just has a little bit of a film on it. It's probably not the cheapest, but you can get acetate, or you do not have to put these on at all. So this is optional. So if you don't want to do this, then don't put them on. Originally I wasn't going to, but since I have to show everybody, you might as well do the bust this way. It's easier to remove than to add. So we want to go and find the different pieces that go with these. So for the front, it's, let's see if I can show this piece right here. So you can see that. For this one, it'll be the same size. So it's hard to see. This one has a little bit more rounded. That goes behind here. Then this goes behind the side without the door, and this goes behind the windows, like there. So let's go ahead and add those. So with acetate, you want to be really careful not to get glue on anything on the fingertips, so be careful about the openings. I like to put the glue on there, and for this I'm putting the shiny part out. So it gives you a little wiggle room if you keep the glue a little bit further out. But if you do get glue on a window, just have a little damp paper towel. I just got a little bit there. Just gonna kind of dab it. You don't want this to happen, but it happens. This is why I don't like doing a whole lot of windows or sometimes. So, because you can scratch it too. So there's, you can see the It's on there. I'm going to do the same here. So we're just go ahead and attach all these. I don't need to speak through it. Oops, get kind of close to the edges, but not too close with the fine bead. So this is the side with full windows, so you need to use the largest piece. So the rest of it, you can go ahead and watch me place them to help you place them. And then we'll go onto the outside of the panels. So now we're going to glue on this little door piece. So you could, just to give it a little dimension right there. So what's good about the way that I'm putting together most of it is that you won't see any of the acetate inside. The only place you're going to see the window piece, because all these panels mostly hide it. The only place you really see it is, let's go ahead and add glue here. It's the back piece. I didn't want to make it any heavier to put another panel to open and close. So when you rotate that back piece open, you'll see it. It's on the inside. So just line that up. So it's easy to line it up when you can see through. And even if you don't have windows, the same thing, same exact method. So these little stripes on the side, we have little cheater lines again. So you can see the left and the right and the middle. So it'll help you line up those little pieces, and as well as the long side too. So we'll go ahead and you can add glue to these, and I'll just do it in the middle, so not too much glue. Then I just lined it up to the left first. And then line it up between the two cut lines and then to the right. And you can jiggle it in place so you don't, it'll hide the cut lines. So the same thing here. So you can start with the right or left and then kind of hold it in place until it's centered between those two middle cut lines, and then line right there. Same thing on the front, so it's just shorter span. It doesn't have middle cut lines, just to the left and right. And be careful getting any glue on the windows if you do put panels in. And you can see it's a different look with it open versus the original box that had solid windows or just solid cardstock underneath it. So what is kind of a difference, right? But you could do it either way, or without windows at all, just have them open. Then we'll go ahead and put these on. So this one, before we put the glue on, it goes from left to right, starting with that left cut line right there. Those two. And then I just start, and I'm just going to carefully place it down so it lines up in between those two cut lines on the top and bottom, and then to the right. So this one, you can also do this instead of putting the glue on the actual. You have to be really careful and have a steady hand if you do it this way. But this way, if you drop the black piece, then you won't get glue on portions that shouldn't be there. If you have a really steady hand, we'll do the second one with glue on the back, making sure the texture side is up. So this way, start over there, and then I'm going to line it up with the first one. Second set of cut lines in between, and then to the right. And if I want to go a little further to the right, kind of so if you put it on the back, So the same thing you can do. Just try not to drop it. My fear, especially with acetate, that I'll drop it. So I'm gonna start down here. Sometimes getting different angles of how you do it helps. So I'm just gonna grab it there, slowly drop it, and say I'm getting glue on my fingertip too. The other fingertip, guiding it down. Then right there. So you can see it perfectly goes there. Then we're going to go ahead and add it to the, fold this. We're not going to put that right quite yet. We're going to add these to the, let's add this window to the front like that. But we can't do that quite yet. Okay, never mind. Let's do this first. The things we have to do, we have to add something to the side first. We had to add that little mirrors, but we don't want to mess with the mirrors right now because moving things around, it becomes an issue. So we're just going to add glue. Okay, watch how I add the glue before you add it. I like to put a little bit on the actual box, but you want to be careful when it comes to the, stop at the, don't do anything around the tires here. And you'll see why. We'll go about that far. And then the actual panel, I'll make sure that I have the correct panel for that side. I'm just going to go like this. So you can put it all in this too. Put a little bit more right there. Oops, I didn't show that on. So that's where I placed it on that. Somehow, I don't know where I got all this. Fortunately, the back of it was on something that was dirty. I'm going to go ahead and line that up. So we're just lining the windows up too. So if we don't put glue on around the windows here, we have a little bit more wiggle room to deal with. So we're just lining it up around here best we can, and then right here at the bottom. So make sure before you reach in and apply pressure that you make sure you have clean hands. I don't like to put too much stress on that tab, so it's a tab that will be opened and closed. And then we'll do the same on the other side. I like to use my fingers again because it gives me more pressure, especially at the top edge. Pull that out. Make sure it's pretty good. If you have any gaps, you can always add a little glue in there. And I can reach in right now too. That's the nice part, is I can reach in from the front because I haven't put that top panel on yet. I'm just going to add a little glue in there. I have a pretty big gap, so it's a little bit bulky right in that area because of the tabs that overlap. Gonna add a little glue in here. I have a pretty big gap back there. So take your time to get this right. I just didn't put enough glue and enough pressure. So for this side, I added glue on this panel just to see how it would do a little bit better. So the problem with that is, of course, I don't want to drop it. So if you do that, you need to place it really well. Like, try to do it on the first time. So line it up with the windows. And then I have little wiggle room. And once I get it in place, and just rub the edges to get it set. Then I'm going to flip it on the side and apply pressure. So I'm going to start on the curved area because that's the place that's going to have the hardest. So in the front, I'm right here, have my fingers, and then coming down the edge inside, being careful, mindful not to tear this tab in the back. So it's a little bit of a dance. Now I'm going to the tip of the front and then the edge in the middle where there's not windows, so I can get it pushed down. And then I can take a look at it and see if I got it. The edge is pretty good. I did. So now we can go ahead and just carefully put them on the side. Add these wheels. And this will line up to the edge of the wheel. So towards the bottom here. So we want to get all 4 of these, and then we can add the stop sign. So at this point, because I'm still kind of flipping it over and about, I'm not going to put the rhinestones in the middle of the tires, the wheels. You can call them tires or wheels, whatever. Not quite yet. Because if you flip it upside down, it just it's flat when we flip it back and forth. If you do like this project or any of my projects, always ask if you give me a little like or thumbs up on the video, and or subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. And if you see that little notification bell to the right of subscribe, if you press that, it'll notify you of new projects, including our freebies. Got that last tire. So the goal is anything that's kind of bumpy, you don't want to put on. I like dimensional, but you don't want to put any dimensional on until the very last moment. So we got both sides going on here. So we're getting close. So we're towards the end here, so I have all the little end pieces in order of how we're going to put them on. We're close to it at least. So we have these pieces. Put them to the side here. So we're going to put the stop sign on. That could be at the very end, but we're going to put that on right now so I can flip it just on its side. So usually have the stop sign on the driver's side. So you really can place it, I didn't put in a mark, but you can place it usually around that or a little bit, just kind of over it towards the window. I have some foam tape, so it can just pop up a little bit. You could create a mechanism to have it fold up, fold out if you wanted to, just a little piece of paper with a fold. I thought about that and I thought, nah, just gonna just do the basic for this one. There's that. Just gonna apply a little pressure behind it. And then we're gonna go ahead and put on the mirrors. So the top part, you see this? This should be at the top of the window. So there's little cut lines. I'm gonna go here, see if I can do that without much. So there's little cut lines, and let's see if I can just put little pencil marks. And actually I can make them kind of deep because you're not going to see these. It just helps you line it up. So the thick part on the top, and if you have craft version, I put the craft down. You want to glue this piece right here. So it just goes like that. And this goes just right up to the edge there. Or a little bit in. So when you put the panel on, you can't see it. You can reach in still. Apply pressure. And the other side. So it is important how you put this in, because I did it so you could reach in multiple places still towards the end of the project. Well, that's another thing that extends my ability to get it out quickly, because I have to put it together different ways to find out which will be easier for you. That's just something I've always done. Also, and I kept on adding things to the file, so that happens. And then we can go ahead and add this. If you wanted to, at this point, you could put it in with a little foam tape, but it's going to be hard to do on the inside. So I think the easiest is to put it like right there. So I put a little bit overlapping this corner, because that's where it'd be in a real, in a bus, it would be over towards the driver's side. So I'm just going to add glue, and I'm going to show you, because if you can't see it, just to that part. And I want to make sure that I line up this top edge to make sure it doesn't go below the yellow. And you can reach in and apply pressure. So there's no cut marks to line up or anything like that. It's just place it where you want. Some people might want the full steering wheel, so I actually put the steering wheel in the file in extra stuff folder. So this should be sufficient for most people. But you just want to make sure it's glued on. I'm just going to angle it so I can get my finger behind it a little bit better. Try to give you the camera view. And then only then can we put this on. So it'll line up like that. Let's go ahead and add glue to the edge here. Let's make it light. Don't get too close to the opening of the window if you can help it. And line it up. So at this point, we can, it should fit all the way down here. So you can rub it to get it in place. Make sure it lines up on the left and the right. Then if you need to apply pressure, gently reach in and apply pressure behind it. Making sure you don't you avoid those windows if you have windows. If you don't have windows, everything is way better. It's going to be easier because you can stick your finger through the holes. I mean, it's an option. I kind of think it would be fun without windows, honestly. And a little bit easier as far as this part goes. You want to check all edges, make sure you don't pop it out like I just did. And then just applying pressure around the edge. Like that. You could angle the mirrors up. But you do want to take the time to get that nice and glued on tight. So if you need to, just make sure you just can add a little glue with the little piece of paper, slide some in, apply more pressure behind until you're satisfied with the results. Now we're going to go ahead on the back part, so I'm going to put that up there for a minute. This goes in the front. So we have all these lights lined up. This is the front. So the bumper that you need for the back has a little circle in it, and that will line up with this. So these two will go to the front, and two of these will go to the front as well. These go in the back. So they, oh, actually on the front, sorry about that. Those are on the front. So the things you need to add on the, oh, dork. Okay, it's on the back. So these go on the back. And there's little cut lines again to help you line them up. So you can see there's cut lines. There's a cut line here. Let me just pencil it in a little bit. I would get the pencil that doesn't work. And then on this side. And then there's a little place for the light. And then for the bumper. So we're going to go ahead and add these two. So the way you want to do it is on the back of the school bus, you'll see orange in the middle and red on the outside. You want the opposite. So you want yellow, red, white. So the white should be on the inside. It's going to be a little shadow there. So the same thing on the other way. Just make sure it's straight. The white will be on the inside. So double checking that. And then even though these are supposed to be adhesive, which they are, that came from they were adhesive ones, I always use glue. So I'm not a big fan of the adhesive. So I'm going to add a dot of glue. And to place this, I'm just going to use tweezers. And I'm placing it in between those little cut marks. It has a little adhesive on the back, so it's hard to pick up. And then make sure you have this bumper. So what it's going to do, it's going to line up with this. When I fold this, it should line up with these marks. So you want to add glue right here, and one line underneath the two cut lines, and then on this circular piece. So we're going to line it up at the circular piece there. And that. Let me show you when it's folded back. It'll help center it. Sure I don't get glue on my fingertips. It's just me, not the, it's the process. Okay, there we go. Make sure I didn't lose too much of my glue. You'll see that it goes a little bit off the right and left. So the same thing, we can add a little glue to these dots right here. Remember, you can use the piece of the little circles that you cut out that are in the file. But I think I recommend rhinestones. They're inexpensive to get. I mean, you could use enamel dots too. These look more like lights. So you want to make sure you give it time to dry as well. And then these, I'm going to put those in the center. I'm just going to add glue in the center there. Try not to get towards the edges. Let's see if I can just place that. And I'll indicate the size of this, but you could always make these a little bit wider if they're not working for you. If you have a bigger light, and I have to kind of look at it at the front to make sure they look centered, which they do. So you'll want to give them time to dry. And the other thing we're going to do is just, for this one, we're just going to add glue right here. And it's going to be a little bit difficult to apply pressure. And then you'll want to center it, making sure the edge, that this a little bit goes off of each edge. So you don't want that lined up or anything. You just want a little bit on each edge. So that's probably the hardest piece on the front. So if you want to wait, I'm not waiting because this is more of a tutorial. And gluing on metallic takes a long time to hold. So those rhinestones will take some time. So I'm just going to line this up. And I'm just going to go a little higher over that cut line. Then I centered it to make sure there's a little bit on each side. And then we're just going to let it dry. So actually we have, I actually forgot, I wanted to put something on the middle of the tires. So we'll do that first. So when you do it, you have to be careful of the mirrors. So we should have done that first. So I'm just going to lift it up. Put a little dot of glue in the middle. I chose these rhinestones to use, which are adhesive, but again, I like to put a little bit of glue. I don't trust the adhesive on these, especially since they go through a lot of heat cycles. I was in a really hot place, and now I'm in a cold place, a place that gets, and it's really humid here. So anyways, been through a lot of heat, cold, and humidity now. So you want to make sure those hold. Then we'll put them on both sides, and then we'll put the back on. So I actually just raised it on the upside down embellishment bowl. This is a larger one, just to hold it so it wouldn't do anything with the windows, because it bends it when it's on the side. And then these are as soon as these are dry, then you can go ahead and put the back piece on. So you can see this little, so they're not moving anymore. So we'll go ahead and move that. I'm going to fold this up, place it down there, just like we did on the front piece. Make sure these two pieces in the back are pushed in underneath the tab. Just need to fold up that tab if for some reason it's not. We're going to fold it up like this. Got a little glue on the black. Line this up. I'll show you in just one moment. It's just a need to be at a certain angle to line it up. So lined it up. So the top edge is lined up to the tab fold. And then we're just applying pressure. You can see the tab in there right there. Just careful how you place it. And this will finish it. Move that out of the way. So to open it, just go like this. Then you can put the things in that you want. And to close it, just fold that tab in carefully. It's a tight fit on purpose. Close it in. If you have a gap there and you don't like the way it looks from the side, you could always kind of curve it in. Just a slight curve. I mean, this is meant to be a gift box. I don't like to just do 3D items that are not gift boxes. Just not what I like to do. So that's it. There's the finished bus. So the back. Let's go. And the sides. And there's other things you could add to it yourself. The front. And the other side. So you can see it gets a different look with the clear windows versus just solid cardstock panel windows. So let me get that other one. So here are the two side by side. You see the steering wheel is a little bit different on that. And there let's see, let's get them right. And there they are, the difference with the solid versus the clear. So hopefully some people will enjoy making this for their, maybe a bus driver or for a school type of gift, teacher appreciation, that kind of thing. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and I thank you so much for watching.